When Thomas Jenkins stepped outside that morning, he expected to check on his crops like any other day. But what he found instead made his stomach drop. A massive hole had appeared overnight in the middle of his field, swallowing a chunk of his land. But before we start our story, smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. The edges of the sinkhole were jagged, the soil still crumbling as he approached. It was deep, far deeper than he could see with the naked eye. A strange glow from within the cavernous pit made his pulse quicken. Something about this felt unnatural. His first instinct was to call the authorities, but curiosity got the better of him. Grabbing his strongest flashlight, he inched closer to the edge and pointed the beam downward. What he saw sent shivers down his spine, stone steps spiraling into the darkness. Thomas stepped back, heart pounding. A sinkhole was one thing, but a perfectly carved staircase leading underground? That wasn't natural. Someone had built this. But who? And why had it been buried beneath his land for all these years? His wife, Emily, rushed outside after hearing his shouts. She gasped at the sight before them. "You're not thinking of going down there, are you?" she asked, voice laced with concern. Thomas hesitated. He wasn't sure. But he knew one thing for certain. They had to find out what was at the bottom. By midday, the local sheriff and a small group of scientists had arrived. One geologist scratched his head, baffled. "This isn't just a sinkhole," he muttered. "This looks deliberate." The team set up ropes and lights, preparing for descent. Thomas insisted on going down with them. He had lived on this land for over 30 years. If there was a secret beneath it, he had the right to see it firsthand. After securing his harness, he took a deep breath and stepped onto the ancient stone staircase. The deeper they went, the cooler the air became. The rock walls changed in color, shifting from brown soil to deep red, then an eerie shade of black. "This is old," one scientist whispered. "Very, very old." But nothing could have prepared them for what they saw next. At the bottom of the stairs, a massive arched doorway loomed, covered in strange symbols. Thomas ran his fingers over the carvings. Though weathered, they still held a strange energy. "What is this place?" someone murmured. No one had an answer. With a deep groan, the heavy stone door suddenly shifted, as if responding to their presence. Dust billowed into the air. The team exchanged uneasy glances, but Thomas, compelled by something he couldn't explain, stepped forward. The chamber beyond was vast, its ceiling lost in darkness. Flickering lights, perhaps reflections from their flashlights, danced along the walls, revealing more carvings, more evidence of a forgotten civilization. And in the center of the room stood something that stopped them cold. A large metallic object half buried in the earth pulsed with a faint blue glow. It was unlike anything Thomas had ever seen. Not a relic, not a statue. It looked advanced, futuristic even. "No way," one of the scientists whispered. "This doesn't belong here." The group approached cautiously, each step echoing in the eerie silence. As Thomas reached out, the object pulsed brighter, as if reacting to his presence. A deep, reverberating hum filled the chamber. The ground beneath them trembled. Something was waking up. The sheriff took a step back, hand hovering near his holster. "I don't like this," he muttered. Before anyone could react, a hidden mechanism clicked, and the walls around them began shifting. Passages opened in every direction. The chamber wasn't just a room, it was an entrance, a gateway to something much larger. Thomas turned to Emily, who stood at the top of the staircase, eyes wide with fear. "We need to leave," she called down. But Thomas wasn't sure they could. The moment they had stepped inside, something had been set into motion. A gust of wind, warm and electric, rushed through the chamber. Dust swirled, forming patterns in the air. Symbols on the walls lit up, casting eerie shadows. Then, in the farthest tunnel, they saw movement. A shape emerged from the darkness. It was humanoid, but not human. Its limbs were too long, its eyes glowing with the same blue hue as the metallic structure. The team froze. The being stepped forward, tilting its head as if studying them. Thomas held his breath. His entire life, he had worked this land, believing it to be ordinary. But this This changed everything. "We shouldn't be here," one of the scientists whispered. But it was too late. The being raised an elongated hand, and the pulsing object in the center of the room responded with a blinding flash. In an instant, Thomas felt weightless, as if the ground had vanished. A rush of images flooded his mind, memories that weren't his, visions of towering structures, celestial skies, and a civilization lost to time. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, the vision faded. Thomas collapsed to the ground, gasping. The being was gone. The chamber was silent once more, but the knowledge remained. He turned to the others, his hands trembling. "This place, it's not just old. It's not just a tunnel. It's a message." But from who? And why had it been hidden beneath his farm? As they hurried back up the stairs, Thomas stole one last glance at the chamber below. The metallic object pulsed faintly, as if waiting for its next visitor. One thing was clear: this wasn't over. When he stepped into the sunlight again, the world felt different. He wasn't just a farmer anymore. He was the keeper of a secret that could rewrite history. And for the first time, he wondered if some secrets were meant to stay buried. Let us know what you think about this story, and don't forget to share it with your friends. It might inspire them and brighten their day.